What is going on, everybody? Today I'm going to show you how you can complete 100% of the MO Dream achievements. There are 15 of them. We're going to get right into it. I don't want the video to be too long. I'm going to propose a deck list for each achievement and maybe just a couple of descriptions on what I did to be more efficient and effective in each of them. We'll start right off at the top with Death Knight. The Death Knight achievement is to steal 60 life, 60 health with leeches. As you know, leeches are these O2 minions that steal 1 health each at the end of turn from the lowest health enemy. So you want to use cards like Hideous Husk to ensure that they steal more than 1 life. So typically, if you are looking to complete this quicker, you'll play Hideous Husk plus Infested Breath or plus Sanguine Infestation to ensure that that your leeches are dealing as much damage as possible. I got this without trying. I got it in like 2 or 3 games. It was actually really simple. You can use that deck list. It's relatively competitive and it's fun. Demon Hunter, their quest revolves around Alara'shi, or Alara'shi, I guess. I'm not sure how you say it. What he is a demon beast, and when you play him, it transforms minions into your hands into random demons. This card is trash. Don't build around it. That said, if you do have him and you're looking to complete the achievement, I have a simple way for you to do it. First of all, obviously you need to play it because you have to play 50 demons in your hand that were transformed from this card. So you can use cards like Curator or Umpire's Grasp to tutor for the Alara'shi, and then I just have a bunch of cheap, better static creatures in here. You got a Wisp for free, Corridor Sleeper for a 3/5 body, Slumbering Sprite 3/3 body. You have Spawning Pools to give you cheap creatures in hand, and you have Eldritch Being, right? So the idea is to draw as many cards as possible until you get to your combo turn or your Alara'shi turn. Play Alara'shi and then play a bunch of cheap demons from your hand. This is actually a pretty fun quest, and you will see through the gameplay video that you can win games and it's pretty fun, but it is not the most competitive deck out there. The Druid quest is to summon a 20/20 plant using the imbued hero power. I don't know what to tell you, but the way the imbued hero power works is it's a Blessing of the Golem. It summons a 1/1 golem, and the golem gets bigger and bigger, 2/2, 3/3, 4/4, for every 2 nature spells you play. Remember, for this effect to happen, you have to only run nature spells in your deck. As such, here is a list. It's pretty decent. You basically use your imbue cards like Bitterbloom Knight and Flutterwing Guardian, and then you just cast as many nature spells as possible, getting the most value you can until you hit the 20/20. This one is kind of difficult. It was pretty tricky to do, but it is doable. Speaking of difficult, the Hunter one is very difficult. It revolves around this card, Amphibian Spirit. Give a minion +2/+2 and deathrattle. Give a friendly minion +2/+2 and this deathrattle. So the idea is to bounce Amphibian Spirit as many times as possible. To complete the achievement, you need to have activated this with deathrattle 10 times. This is very challenging, not because it's particularly hard, but because most opponents quit before you are allowed to bounce it 10 times. So what I have here is a typical Egg Hunter shell, but I've added a couple cards to get more mileage out of Amphibian Spirit. Instead of bouncing it, all you have to do is activate it. So you can use Terror Scale Stalker to activate it a couple more times, and Tidepool Pupil to give you more copies of Amphibian Spirit to use. So this way, it's kind of easier to complete the achievement. It is a sucky one. I did not enjoy it, but there it is. The Mage quest is very simple. You just need to deal 100 damage with wisps. That means attacking. There's really no way around it. You play Imbue Mage. This might be better in Wild because of the hero power support that Wild provides for Mage, but very doable in Standard. This list is a Protoss / Imbue hybrid that I was playing on day 1. Really relatively easy quest to do. My only advice is to attack with your mages, your wisps, trade them out as often as possible, and to try using Forbidden Shrine when you have 0 mana. The best times to use a Forbidden Shrine are 0 mana and 9 mana. Those are the key times to play that card. The Paladin quest is to summon 40 dragons that cost 8 mana or more, and you'll see in this list that I have no dragons that cost 8 mana or more. However, I am running Imbue, and the Imbue for Paladin, what it does is a Blessing of Dragon. You shuffle 2 portals into your deck that are played when summoned, and you draw another card, and a portal casts a dragon of the cost equal to the Imbue. So if I have Imbue 5, any portals I draw will give me 5 cost dragons, so on and so forth. And this is like the thing about Imbue. Like, Paladin is strong enough to last you to the point where you deck out, where you draw all cards in your deck. And that's the issue, that this deck is not strong enough to have a like solid win condition outside of Ursol plus Renewing Flames. But this quest is quite easy. I completed this in something like 4 or 5 games. So it's pretty simple. The idea for the mulligan is to keep cards like Bitterbloom Knight, Red Scale Dragon Tamer, and Gold Petal Drake. These 3 cards are very good for starting your game off. You want to stabilize in the mid game, and in the end game, all you're doing is using your hero power and drawing your big dragons. Very simple, very easy quest. The Priest quest is to play 30 cards that have been discounted with AAEBAeLJBgbprALguwKJiwS chosen. The way she works is after you play her, after 3 more turns, your future cards now cost 1 mana, which is very easy. I completed this in 2 games. Very simple. The only difficult part is actually living to the point where the full moon actually rises in this deck. So this, I just put it into a dragon shell. This dragon deck is actually very good. I'll talk about it in a future video about deck building and hypergeometric distribution, so stay tuned for that. But you wouldn't need Aviana, but I did put it in this shell, and it worked out really easy for me. Simple idea. The Rogue quest is to bounce back, or to have this effect of Harbinger of the Blighted happen 6 times. So that means you have to play them, or you have to have bounced them 6 times. So in order to bounce them, obviously you're going to use Shadow Step, you're going to use Web of Deception, and you're going to have to use Waggle Pick, and maybe a combination of other ways to get another Harbinger. Maybe even like using Lucky Comet to have his effect happen twice. But this is not too difficult. You'll find this if you play like this type of rogue deck, and I know there are new versions of Protoss Rogue that are running Harbinger. I think this will be relatively simple to get. It's not the easiest quest, but if with a little bit of planning and focus, you should be able to get that done. The Shaman quest is to play Merithra and to resurrect 50 mana worth of minions. Okay, so one of the best ways to do that is to put that in a Murmur Nebula deck. So you use something like Hagatha the Fabled to draw 2 spells that cost 5 or more and turn them into creatures. And you play Nebula and then Frosty Decor. So like if you pull Nebula, now you have like a 9 mana slime. Then you play Murmur into Shutterblock into Ysera to give you a ton of mana. And then with that ton of mana, you play your mini Shutterblock into Nebula or into any of these sick combos, and then later you resurrect it with Merithra. But if you really just want to get the achievement over and done with and you don't like Shaman, a very simple way is to play Ceaseless Expanse. Play Ceaseless Expanse, have it die off, then play Merithra. Congrats, achievement is done. Very easy. The Warlock quest is to put 8 dark gifts on Wallow the Wretched and attack. So what I have here is a just hodgepodge list. If I were to do this quest again, I would probably do location Wallow Warlock and just ensure that I have somewhere between 8 to 10 dark gift creating cards. So Avant Gardening, Creature of Madness, obviously, Raptor Herald, Xavius if you have him, Treacherous Tormentor, even though this card is not good. You're going to need to play these in order to do it. Now, one thing about this, Wallow gains a copy of every dark gift given to your minions. That doesn't mean that you need to play the minion. So you can play something like Avant Gardening and not play the minion, and Wallow will still get the buff. Keep that in mind, okay? So anyway, this is the list I played. It was pretty simple. Lastly, for the class achievements, we have Warrior. The Warrior quest is to break 60 dragon eggs, hatch dragons from your dragon eggs. And there are other better Dragon Warrior decks. I'm not saying that this is a good Dragon Warrior deck, but in terms of a deck to complete the quest, this is one of the better ones, because you want more activators and you want like more drag. You don't have to copy Yssandre with these. You can copy something like a illusory green wing, or like the other Afflicted Devastator. You can copy cheap dragons with this, and it's totally viable. But this is the list I played. I did have fun, and this is another deck that will do some hypergeometric distribution to try to figure out what a good dragon list could look like in order to keep Dark Rider activated at a reasonable rate. Now, the neutral quest, you should be able to complete the Imbue quest as well as the Dark Gift quest by just playing these decks, okay? Those quests you don't really have to worry about. You just keep spamming to get these decks with the cards in. But there are two achievements that you need to kind of build a deck around to complete. One is Shadrassil, and the other is to summon 80 10-cost minions. This list here, if you're trying to do the Shadrassil quest, I would just add Shadrassil in here and then just spam Shadrassil cards, or you play a Paladin deck, which I will be making a video about in the coming week. So the Shadrassil quest will be pretty easy once you are focused on playing the corrupted versions of that card. So remember, let's go play Shadrassil. The idea is to play 40 Emerald Dream corrupted cards, not the regular dream cards. So you have to corrupt this first by playing a card that costs more than 7 while this is in your hand, and then you can play the corrupted versions of the nightmare versions of the dream cards, okay? Now, what I have here, the other quest is to play 80 10-cost minions. Now, the thing about that quest is you cannot discount or cheat the minions. So you cannot do something like play Aviana and play a bunch of 10-cost minions for 1 mana. You have to pay 10 mana for the 10-cost minion in order for this to count. And that is absurd. It is so boring, so long. However, to do it, I've built this wild deck in wild, and all it is just ramp. It is just filled with ramp, and then you reach a late game package of these 5 creatures that have 10 mana. Originally, if you're still doing the Shadrassil list, you can get rid of a Doomkin and you can put Shadrassil in for the Doomkin. But I'm running 5 creatures. You choose whatever 10 drops you have access to. But I chose these for a number of reasons. A&R, so that I could refresh my mana crystals and play another 10 drop on the same turn, or so that I could draw my hand once my hand has been empty of all its ramp. Kun, the Forgotten King, for the same reason, refresh 10 mana crystals to play another 10 drop. Neptulon, it's just a good creature, and a Force Lord Cenarius, because it helped with the Emerald Dream Wild Gods quest, and it's actually pretty decent in this deck. And Yogg-Saron, because I was playing so many spells that my Yogg-Saron was popping off crazily. And this is the list. There's nothing around it. Like, you see 5 creatures in here, so at best I'm getting 5 per turn. So literally I'm having to play close to 20 games of this to do it, but I was able to do it. It was the worst. It was the worst of all quests to do because it was such a grind. Anyway, those are the decks that I am suggesting to you to complete the achievements. Let me know how it goes. If you want the deck codes, like I said, they're always in the description. I hope this is helpful to you. If you need any more insight into any of those quests, let me know. Have fun and stay tuned for a lot more videos in this channel coming shortly.